Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. For those of you who are new to my channel, hello and welcome to my channel. I am obsessed with bags and all things small leather goods related, and I love watching people's YouTube videos on their bags and their collections. I've got a very modest collection myself, which I've been growing over the years, but thought why not share my thoughts on those as well. So on my channel I'll be doing various bag reviews, what fits inside my bag, and any other thoughts or videos that I think might be interesting to you. So if that's the kind of thing that you like, then please do go ahead and check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel if you like them. So for this video I am going to talk about my tips and thoughts on how to look after bags which are made of slightly more sensitive leathers. So in particular I'm going to focus on this, which is the Fendi Peekaboo in the nappa leather. So this is the Iconic Peekaboo, and the leather is super soft. Nappa leather is a type of lambskin, and it's one of the softest leathers out there. So for that reason, it is quite sensitive, and I find you do have to take quite a bit of care over this if you want to really look after your bag or your small leather good and have it last a long time. So I got this bag a few months ago, and I did have to think long and hard before I got it, because it is a very expensive bag, and because of this leather I was not very sure. Basically I had to think for a long time about whether this will be worth buying, whether it will be long lasting, and something that I can keep in my collection for a very long time whilst having it look really nice and pretty and new like this. So I finally did decide to buy it, because I just went for this as it was my dream bag. But I have had to look after this quite a bit. So I'm going to be sharing some of the tips and thoughts from using this bag for a few months, and also my experience with other bags in general. So the first thing I will say, which is very relevant for these times, is please do not use hand sanitizer near this bag. And I think this applies to all of your luxury items, but in particular leathers like this. So I thought I was very careful and making sure that I had this bag, you know, on the shoulder strap behind me when I was using hand sanitizer. I forgot this once, and I had this bag in the crook of my arm, but I was still very careful to apply the hand sanitizer just into my hands. But then I noticed that I actually spilt a little bit onto the bag, and I was so devastated at the time. I will show you, you will probably be able to see it still. It's actually possibly a little bit more noticeable in person in the right light. So I don't know if you can see a strip down here of the hand sanitizer where the leather is just slightly less shiny, a bit more of a cloudy look. And yeah, that was just a horrible moment, having had the bag for a couple of months at that point. Yeah, I was horrified, and you can see it just drip down here. So I wiped it off straight away, and I actually put water on it as well. I know you're not supposed to really put water on leather, but I thought that was better than having that alcohol just sit there. But I think the damage was done. So the alcohol basically just fully dries out the leather. And I think there's not really much you can do about it. I think if you take it to a leather specialist, they may be able to do something or apply some sort of creams. But as it's not hugely noticeable, I've just tried to deal with it at home myself. So then what I did is I bought a leather cleaner, and I do actually have a leather cleaner from John Lewis, which I use on my other bags. But I do notice that one actually gives a slight cloudy white finish to bags, which you can actually see slightly on this as well. So I read quite a lot of reviews online and videos about which leather cleaner to use, and this one came up highly recommended. So it's the Cadillac Boot and Shoe leather lotion, and there's actually a leather lotion for premium leather as well, but it seemed to be the boot and shoe one that was most highly recommended. and I've seen people use this on their Chanel lambskin, so I thought it would work very nicely on this bag. So my second tip would be for any conditioning lotion or serum that you want to put on your leather items, make sure that you do a little patch test. So do it either inside the bag where you can't really see, or I would just do it at the bottom of the bag, which is not as noticeable. And my recommendation would be not just to check how it looks after a few minutes, but actually wait a good few hours, because I have noticed that with these creams on certain types of leathers, it does leave a slight cloudy white texture. I think you can see it there. And I found this, as I say, on a few of my bags. And it's not something that I really particularly like. So in the past, I have just added a bit of water, which then fades it out. But obviously water's not good for leather, so I'd rather just avoid it in the first place. So I could get rid of this with some water if I wanted to, but I'll leave it for now as it's not too noticeable. But yeah, I do find that happens, but it takes a few hours for it to appear. So make sure that if you are doing your patch test, which I would recommend, give it a good few hours to dry out and then see what the leather looks like. So if you don't really like that effect, then yeah, I would say then don't apply it on your leather goods. So then my third tip would be to not place this bag on the ground if you want to look after the leather. So because it is very delicate, and I'm not saying you have to fully baby this, but there are no feet on this bag, and I am very wary that the corners can wear quickly. I've had no issues with mine yet, but I also haven't put my bag on the ground, and particularly if you're outdoors and it's like a pebbly or gravel kind of ground, I would definitely not recommend putting this straight on the ground there. I have mentioned in my other video on whether this bag is worth it or not, that I've seen a lot of peekaboos on the pre-loved market, and they tend to be in very poor condition where the leather has worn away and the bag is sagging quite a lot. So I do think this bag has a tendency to wear down quite quickly. So yeah, to avoid that, I would say things like don't put it on the ground. So my next tip is also be mindful of if you're not going to put this on the ground, if for example you have it on your lap, I would recommend not squashing the bag or leaning on it. So I often just sit this on my lap, usually upright actually, but occasionally I might want to just put it down like on my lap like that. And what I don't do is I never would rest my hand on this that I would do with other bags, because that will just crease the leather and flatten the bag, so it will start to sag over time. So you can even see as I push down there, you start getting creasing. And if you do that for a long time, I am sure that the leather will be very creased and it will start to sag. So if you want to maintain the shape, then I'd say just be careful with that. If you put it on your lap, maybe just gently rest your hand on the top, or just don't rest it at all. And I know at this point this bag is sounding very high maintenance, but honestly this is just if you want to have it last the longest possible time, I guess, and really look after it, so that you can get good use of this in a kind of brand new condition for as long as possible. So my next tip, which is also related to the creasing of the leather, is I know commonly how this bag is worn is the front of the bag is open like this, and then on the back people would clasp this close, so they close that turn lock, and this I think looks quite nice, but also for if you're wearing this as a shoulder bag or crossbody bag, this then sits in your hip really nicely, rather than this kind of flapping out. So that just molds well to your body. But what will happen over time, and I've seen some people's videos on this as well, is you can see that this pulls on the leather in both those parts here in like an upside down V shape. And that's simply just because you are pinching the leather close to the bag. And so I have seen reviews, and I've seen lots of the pre-loved bags where you then get a lot of pulling here and a lot of creasing. Over time, that will just happen if you clasp this. So if you don't want that look to happen, then I would recommend keeping this open. So that's what I do. I keep both sides open, and I actually personally prefer that look. I just like this kind of chubby look of the bag, so I do like to keep it open for the look, but then also just to preserve the smoothness of the leather. But then what I would say is, if you wear this, particularly crossbody, where the bag is basically leaning against your body, what will happen if you're not careful is that the front of the tan lock here, which is really shiny now, will hit against the other side of the tan lock on the front of the bag or the back of the bag. And so as you're wearing this crossbody, that will happen. And so you will end up with scratches on the tan lock itself. So if you do want to keep that shiny, then I would recommend either closing the tan lock, or sometimes what I do is I just push it through like this, so it's leaning against my body. It's not as tight as if you were to close it and turn the lock fully. But if you just manage to get that tan lock through this piece here, lean it against your body, then it will prevent from the scratching on the front at least. So that's what I do sometimes, but I tend to hand hold this bag, so that's less of an issue for me, but just something to watch out for, depending on whether you're more precious about your hardware or about the leather itself. And then I think my final tip for this bag is to preserve the shape. I would recommend having a bag liner. I mentioned this in one of my other videos that I made very quickly myself a bag liner just from some felt. I think I used 2mm felt. Basically, I'd looked online for some of the smaller ones and found them very expensive, and they would have to be shipped from the US. So given I didn't really care how this looked, I just wanted something to structure the bag and to not scratch the inside of the bag. I thought I'd just make it myself, so it's not pretty to look at. But I definitely noticed a difference with this. So the bottom of the bag sags less, and also, as I mentioned in my other video as well, when you put some items in this bag, because the leather is so soft, you can actually see the bulges on the outside of the bag. So particularly if you put a phone in, or a Kindle or something like that, where it leans against the bag, you will see that very noticeable. And my worry is over time that will stretch the leather and kind of distort it. But just by adding this extra protection in the bag, it's much less severe how that pokes through, and generally you wouldn't see it at all. So I mean, I'm doing the same here, but I'm really pushing my fingers through. But you can imagine, just by doubling that thickness there, something like a phone doesn't really poke out once you have the bag liner in place. So I would highly recommend that if you do care about the shape of the bag, and also just taking care of the leather, particularly on the front and the back. So I think that's it. I know that was quite a lot, and it does feel like this bag is very high maintenance. In my personal opinion, it's 100% worth it. If you want to go after something which feels super luxurious, is very soft, and honestly just so enjoyable to basically stroke, which sounds a bit weird, then yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I think on balance it's worth it. But if you are looking for something which is carefree and you don't have to worry about all these things and scratching the bag by accident, then this one is not the one for you. But I would also, if you like the style, check out the other Peekaboos, so the ones which aren't in the Iconic range. They are made out of a slightly sturdier, more hard-wearing leather. They don't feel as soft as a result, but they are definitely the types of leathers where you don't have to baby the bag as much, and it's much less prone to scratching and wearing away. So if you like the Peekaboo style, then there are definitely bags that you can check out from Fendi on that. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I feel like I just blabbered on for a bit, but I hope you found some of those tips useful. If you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to try and answer them for you if I can. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope to see you in my next one.